Ready to give your dining room an update? Start by updating your dining room table and buffet. Every good makeover starts with a trip to Lowe's. I needed some sanding discs that would do the job quickly and easily. These Gator Reptilion sanding discs are 4 times longer lasting, which is definitely something we're going to need with these 2 large pieces of furniture. I started with the 80 grit sanding disc, which is best for rapid removal and also for sanding out deep scratches that the table had. These sanding discs lasted way longer than my normal ones due to the active matrix technology, which is just a fancy way of saying that the pattern on the discs channels the dust away from the sanding surface. So in no time at all, I had the initial thick layer of stain off of the table. Next up, I used the 120 grit sandpaper, which is best for raw surface preparation. I always prefer the quick change hook and loop backing. This way I can swap out the different grits quickly and easily. The 120 grit did a great job of removing the greenish tints that were underneath the initial stain. Finally, I finished it off with the 220 grit sandpaper, which is great for really fine smoothing the wood. I want it as smooth as possible before I start to stain. In no time at all, I had my table prepped and ready for stain. But first, we need to handle this buffet. The main grits I'm using for the buffet are 120 and 220 because I don't want to get the entire buffet down to raw wood. I just want to smooth it and get it ready for paint and then also add stain to the top. I will also be using 40 grit, but I'll tell you all about that in just a minute. There was nothing really wrong with the buffet, but it's just giving very farmhouse vibes. And that's not really what I foresee our home decor becoming. So I sanded down the areas where the white paint was chipping and just got it good enough for paint to adhere to. I sanded down the top of the buffet with 220 grit sandpaper. I just wanted to take enough of the finish off so that it would accept new stain. Once the base was sanded down, I removed the doors and took off the glass. One of my biggest pet peeves with this buffet is that you can see everything that I'm storing inside. And the design of this center wood situation is just a little bit busy for my taste. So I used a jigsaw to cut out the wood in the middle and just leave me the cabinet doors. I know this is a controversial design choice, but trust me y'all, this is gonna look really good, I promise. After the center part was removed, I was left with a really bumpy looking center from where the wood design used to be. So I used 40 grit sandpaper to really knock down, smooth, and get even the middle of the cabinet doors. This 40 grit worked amazing for removing thick layers of wood and really making the interior look nice and even. Don't worry about the holes, we will get to those later. Next, I used the 120 grit sandpaper to smooth everything out and also remove a good portion of the white paint from the cabinet doors. This was a whole bunch of sanding up until this point, and I am super impressed with the durability of the Gator Reptilion sanding discs. Follow along for part 2 of this dining room makeover where we finish the dining room table and the buffet.